Hey, good morning. I'm going to be going over the linear function review for you. Remember, at any point you can slow down, stop, pause, rewind, whatever you need to do to make sure that you're going to be successful on this test tomorrow. So it starts off quick review. The slope of the line above is -1/4. So this represented by our m. -1/4, that's the slope. That's how we move when we're graphing. And then we have our y-intercept, or our beginning point, if we were graphing this on a coordinate plane, is that 0, -7. And this value is what is after the slope in our equation, which is represented by our b value in this form, y equals mx plus b, which is slope-intercept, because it gives us our slope and our intercept. So you need to make sure you're able to identify those two parts from an equation in slope-intercept form. All right, so we look in here, it says find the equation of a line given a slope and a point, or given 2 points on the line. Use point-slope formula. So here it's telling us you're going to have a point or a slope, or we just have 2 points, and we're going to use this formula. Now, when you're taking your test, you're not going to be told specifically to use the point-slope formula. So when you're looking at this, you need to know if I have a slope and a given point, that you're going to have to use that point-slope formula. So that's going to be on you. You're going to have to make that recognition. I will provide the formula for you. So the first one here tells us that write an equation of a line with a slope of 3 that passes through the point 0, 2. So when I'm looking at this, I see that we have a slope and we have a point, but specifically this point is our y-intercept, as written above, because the 0 is in place of the x, so this is our y-intercept. So I know y equals 3x plus 2 is going to be my equation, because it's in slope-intercept form. I have my slope and my y-intercept. If you don't see that, that's okay. We can still use this point-slope formula, and you'll see in the end we get the same exact answer. So I'm going to start off with my y minus, because that's what it has here, and then it says the y1, and my y1 value here is 2, equals the m, which is our slope, 3 in this problem, times x minus the x value of my point, which happens to be 0. And then from here, we'll need to go ahead and distribute and add to get this in slope-intercept form. First, we distribute. I'm only going to distribute the 3 to what's inside the parentheses, so this becomes a 3x, and that's it, because 3 times 0 is 0. From here, to get the y isolated, we have to remove the -2 by inverse operation, so we add the 2 to both sides of the equal sign, and we are left with y equals 3x plus 2. Did not combine them, they are not like terms, and you'll notice that's what I started off with. Looking at the second problem, same thing. We have a slope of -2. We are writing the equation, and this time it's going through the point of -4 and -2. This is not the y-intercept, so I cannot go straight to my equation. I have to do that point-slope formula, distribute, and then isolate the y variable. So we have our y minus. In this case, the y value is a -2, so a minus negative becomes that +2, equals our slope, which is -2, and it stays because there's no operation change. And we're going to multiply by x minus the x coordinate, which is a -4. That minus negative turns into a plus. And now we have our values into that point-slope formula. We distribute. When we distribute, it's only that -2 goes into the parentheses. So where my -2x minus 8 comes from. Everything in front is still there. Because the y needs to be isolated, we will subtract the 2 from both sides, leaving us with y equals -2x minus 10. Make sure you're using your calculator to verify your arithmetic, especially when you have those negatives involved. On number 3, here we're looking at 2 points and we need to write the equation. Because we don't have a slope, we need to find the slope first, and we can do that because we have our 2 points. So your slope formula is that y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. These are coming from our 2 points. Common error that I'm seeing is we're not labeling our points correctly, so make sure it is x1, y1. This is 1 point that has an x and y value. This is our second point, so that's going to be x2 and y2 because it has an x and y value. So now I can go ahead and find my slope. So this is going to be m equals, and I'm going to subtract the differences of my y's over the differences of my x's. So my y2 I have here is 6, and we are subtracting the y1, which is 3. The bottom in the denominator we have our x2, which is 3, and we are subtracting our x1, which is 2. And that comes out to 6 minus 3 is 3, and 3 minus 2 is 1. So our slope is 3 over 1, or we could just say 3. So now we go back to our point slope formula, and it tells us it's y minus y1. So in this case, it doesn't matter which point you choose. I'll go ahead and stick with the first one. So we have minus 3 equals our slope, which we solved to be 3, times x minus the x coordinate of our point, which is 2. And then from here, we will go ahead and distribute just as we did earlier. Okay, so my y minus 3 is going to remain untouched for now. 3 times x gives me 3x, and 3 times a negative 2 gives me a negative 6. Next, we add our 3 to both sides, and we're left with y equals 3x minus 3. Once again, use your arithmetic, use calculator to help you with that arithmetic there. Okay, moving on to number 4. On question 4, we're being asked to identify the x and y intercept of the equation. And when we're looking at that equation, I notice that it is in standard form, and that's okay. What you need to remember, whenever you're looking for the x-intercept, you are looking for when your y value is 0. So if I'm looking at this equation, I'm looking for x, I want to know what x equals, plus 3, but instead of multiplying by y, I'm going to input my y value of 0, and then I set it equal to 18. So, excuse that. We have negative 2x. 3 times 0 is 0, so this whole thing reduces out to a 0, is equal to 18. And then to solve for x, we divide everything by that negative 2, and I'm left with x equals a negative 9. So my x-intercept would be negative 9, 0. For the y-intercept, this time my x has a value of 0, and we're looking for the y value. So same thing, I'm going to come back to the same equation. It's going to be negative 2, but instead of multiplying by x, it's going to multiply by 0, plus 3y equals 18. Anytime times 0 is 0, so those reduce out, leaving us with 3y equals 18. Divide everything by 3, and we're left with y equals, and 18 divided by 3 is 6. All right, and then we'll talk about 5 here in the next video.